So we have just had the go-home Raw for WrestleMania 41, and my good grief, my friends, there's a lot to talk about. And the main thing, of course, is the main event from night one, which is going to be CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. Don't know who Seth Rollins is. That's his Star Wars equivalent, but I just thought this was excellent. And look, I talked about it on these videos. I talked about it on What Culture Ups and Downs. Make sure you check that out too. Please do subscribe to me and subscribe to What Culture Wrestling as well. When they did first start kicking things off, it was a little bit, I don't want to say wishy-washy. That's way too unfair. But it was kind of like, well, this kind of came out of nowhere, but all of a sudden we're doing it. But over the last few weeks, we have just given the depth, we've given the interest, and we've given the story to the point now, I'm happy to say it is a worthy main event of night one of WrestleMania. Now, of course, people will go, oh, night one's not a real main event of WrestleMania, which is just such a sad hill to die on. Just be happy for people. Be pleased they're getting their accomplishments. Ever since WrestleMania became a weekender, it still means something to main event either of the shows, because WWE has decided you're the guys or the girls that deserve to be in that slot. I really do think you're being a bit mean if you want to call the WrestleMania Night 1 main event not a real main event, but you're allowed to do so. But it was Seth Rollins really who kind of did the good work last week, the week before that, and especially this week, because he just laid it all out. Now, I still don't really understand the importance of Paul Heyman, and in fact, given what has happened, being friends with Paul Heyman now actually feels to be a bit of a detriment, because CM Punk came out to help his old friend. Roman Reigns speared him when Seth Rollins went totally crazy. He did a shield chair shot to Roman Reigns. Poor Roman is never going to be able to get over that, and he stomped CM Punk and he stopped the head of the table and he looked at Paul Heyman like, yeah, I'm going to kill you. But it was his explanation before this that was the best, because he was like, the reason I have to win this match is because if you win, Mr. Roman Reigns, everyone's going to start thinking we don't have to turn up to work, we can get other people to do our dirty work for us, which is not how wrestling should be built upon. And if CM Punk wins, here's a guy that goes away when things get tough, then he comes back and he tries to leech off people's success, whereas I, Seth Rollins, has been the guy who has always tried to give back to the business, and that's the only way that it can survive. And you can argue that also has come a little bit out of nowhere, but man, it has real worth to it and it means something. It does make Paul Heyman once again a bit of an outlier, but he's obviously going to tie into the finish of the match. And there's also some wonderful stuff before this. When Paul Heyman was waiting for Roman Reigns, he was being his dutiful self. When CM Punk came and sat next to him and gave him a hug, he could see him so stressed when, of course, Roman arrived and just had an emotional meltdown. I mean, it's proper soap opera stuff, but it's working for me. And I just thought, when we went off air, and again, I don't presume they will do anything on SmackDown, because that's being saved for John Cena and Cody Rhodes. I mean, I'm sure we'll have some videos or some hype packages. I just thought, we've done a good job here, and I really don't know who's going to win. My wrestling tropes would tell you that Seth is not going to get the pinfall now, because he was standing tall. But in new WWE, I wouldn't bet my house on that, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did do that to try and trick you. But I want to see what's going to happen. I think it's kind of surprising we didn't have a big promo from CM Punk, so maybe he does that on SmackDown. But the Paul Heyman asterisk does make it more interesting. And yeah, Seth gave it some real grounded worth in the sense why he feels like this match is so important. And the way he has kind of evolved his character over the last few weeks, whether he stays a babyface or where he goes heel after WrestleMania, we have to stick with serious Seth Rollins, because he's been brilliant, and again, arguably the MVP of the show and the MVP on the program. I can't wait for it. And we did the prediction video on Monday. I believe I did go for CM Punk. I still do think that is true, but I wouldn't bet my house on it. I think I've said that twice now, but that's how much I don't want to bet my house, because otherwise where would I live? If the Raw before WrestleMania is when you have to pull out the big guns, or at least kind of tie a shoelace based on everything you have done up to this point, really good job. Excited for the triple threat. And I think Jey Uso versus Gunther, well, I think Jey Uso is going to win the title. So you could have ended it with that, but I think WWE has something big planned for this three-way, and they're not dumb. And we've seen in the past that obviously we want the world title to go on last, but if you are going to do a big angle or you're expecting a certain reaction, learn from our mistakes and let's not do it. And also, speaking about Gunther versus Jey Uso, we kept them apart. Gunther cut such a good promo. What an amazing heel. Just being like he's going to destroy Jey Uso, doesn't care about Jey Uso. It's going to be great to go 4-0. He's going to ring his mother and take pride in the fact he finished off Jey, and even said that he was in control when he choked Jimmy Uso out, because otherwise he would have murdered that guy, which is flubbed up. When Jey, I thought, really balanced it well too, because he came out, he was much more of the yeet guy, but he was dressed in black. He did have some crowd interaction, but he made it very clear, Gunther, I'm going to beat you. You're scared of me. You don't want to lose to a dude like me in front of 60,000 people, but that's already going to happen because I have figured you out. It was nothing over the top. It was nothing overly complicated, but it worked. It hit the buttons once again, and I can't wait for that match. I think I said this on Ups and Downs too. I had a message this morning going, I can't believe you want the guy who's just got a catchphrase mid-carder to win the World Championship. You bet your ass I do, because one, that is being way too reductive in terms of what Jey Uso has done over the last few years, but also two, I do not want to live in a world where we just go back to the status quo all of the time. Once again, I'm like a broken record. Let's try it with Jey Uso. If it doesn't work, who the flub cares? I bet at one point when Gunther was Walter, if I had told you he was going to be a great world champion in WWE, somebody would have gone, oh no, that guy can't do it, but it worked out. And the only way to find out if somebody can sink or swim is to put them in a position like this. Otherwise, it's going to get so dull. It's going to get so boring. I want to try new things all of the time, like Karrion Kross. I think we should give a belt to Karrion Kross because he had his match with AJ Styles, and man, he is just adding so much worth to this Logan Paul feud. Like, towards the end of it, he just took the phenomenal forearm. He put his hands behind his back as if to say, right, I've done my job here. And he had hair like AJ Styles, and apparently he'd had gear done to look like AJ Styles. Well, he did, but the commentators told us he'd gone to the same person to make AJ Styles' gear. Logan Paul comes out, and then Karrion Kross tries to attack AJ, and that allows Logan Paul to hit the pulverizer. Karrion Kross better be involved in something this weekend. And while I don't want Logan Paul to win, if it triggers an AJ Styles versus Karrion Kross feud, WWE has something in Karrion Kross. Like, he's a really interesting guy. We just need to take everything he's done on social media and then paste that over Raw. And I think it could be really good. And the reason I wanted to go there is because if you were going to ask me who do I think the MVP of Raw was, it was Seth Rollins and Karrion Kross in terms of what they did for their angles, what they did for their stories. I was genuinely impressed. I thought it was really good. And I was impressed with Bayley versus Liv Morgan. Now, I hate the build for this tag team match. I think it's been way too last minute. I don't understand why, well, the entire tag divisions across Raw and SmackDown don't get treated better. But Bayley versus Liv Morgan was always going to be a big match. Bayley gets the win after distraction from Lyra and Raquel Rodriguez. To tie into the fact we are going to do this, there is no way that Liv and Raquel should be losing those championships, but I would now give them some time, sort of 15 plus minutes, and really let them go at it. And I actually think you could rehab those women's tag titles a little bit while also doing a good match. You could also have an angle in your back pocket. Maybe Bayley turns on Lyra Valkyria and that kickstarts that feud. But in terms of in-ring quality, could and should be brilliant. So that is a good thing, right? Something to get excited about. Same with Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. I guess kayfabe-wise, they were kept off the show because Adam Pearce couldn't be bothered to deal with their nonsense. But they all did a video, all did great work, all sold that match. So I was like, okay, nothing, apart from maybe the Punk stuff and the Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns stuff, nothing on here is like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it. But we have salvaged a lot of things that maybe went off the rails a little bit. Even the Intercontinental title four-way ended with a disqualification, and that and surprise roll-ups. I'm like, man, just do anything different. We're a creative group, but even though Bron Breakker did cause the DQ, him and Painter and Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio, they all fight, and Carlito ran away because he didn't want to get super speared again, and then Bron Breakker gives a double spear to Dom and Carlito, and then Penta's doing dive, and Finn is being Finn. We've kind of left it where you don't really know what's going to happen, and I think that is probably the upside of the build to this year's WrestleMania. Apart from some matches, you are like, well, we could go left or we could go right, which means, once again, I know I say this all the time, this is not a journey WrestleMania, this is a destination WrestleMania, and when we get there, I think all the matches are going to be so good, we'll actually go, you know what, they salvaged, or not even salvaged, they just put on a great event. I can't imagine they wouldn't do this. And even Chad Gable, El Grande Americano versus Rey Mysterio, like, it does kind of feel like we're not really heading into WrestleMania. But Chad Gable, I did it again. El Grande Americano obviously interferes after Rey Mysterio had beaten Julius Creed. I think that was really important. He has the loaded mask. He just headbutts everybody in the LWO. So, I mean, that's good, right? Because Rey Mysterio won the match, but El Grande Americano was standing tall. There's that wrestling trope again. So you don't really know who's going to win. And it's Rey Mysterio and, forgive me, Chad Gable. How can they not have a good match? So once again, I think you need to forget about all of this and just get focused on Saturday and Sunday to see what WWE is going to do. Because in no world can those two, unless someone gets injured, which I do not want to happen ever, I don't even think it could be a disappointment. Like when we had, was it Edge versus AJ Styles? It was a decent match, but maybe it didn't live up to our expectations. I don't think that can happen here because I just don't. Just let them do what you know they can do and give them time. And I think it was smashed through the roof. And I suppose the only real disappointment was, well, apart from the same finish over and over again, just distraction. You know, it's the same with the SmackDown and the women's, but the Raw tag team titles, we didn't really do much here. We just had 2 promos, and they well delivered promos, but there's no stipulation, even though the New Day kind of used a bunch of chairs last week. I just don't get it, and it feels like an afterthought. I don't think that's fair on the War Raiders. I don't think that's fair on the New Day, who again had that wonderful heel turn late last year. But we need to do more with the SmackDown ones, which at the moment aren't even on WrestleMania. We've talked about the women's tag titles. The tag team scene, not only in WWE really, but across the board, but I don't want to start crossing the streams, just needs a kick up the ass. It needs to whoop up the tuchus. So I would re-emerge. I would push together the Raw and SmackDown men's tag team belts again. I don't think WWE is going to do that, but I do think it's a little bit of an issue. But we have to wait and see. I still think they're going to have a decent match, right? Which again is why I'm looking forward to all of this. So I think Raw was kind of weighed in the direction of that WrestleMania 1 main event, like one main event, because you do want to do that in terms of hierarchy and importance. I guess it does have to be up there. But there wasn't anything we did on the show that I thought was a letdown, right? We stuck to our guns. Everything was simple but effective. Again, there's still some glaring holes in this. Why isn't Chelsea Green on WrestleMania at the moment? I cannot make heads or tails of it. But let's see what John Cena and Cody Rhodes do on SmackDown. And I think come Saturday, we're all going to be pretty pumped. I think they'll plant some good seeds here. I think The Rock will probably turn up. Again, could be totally wrong. And also, don't forget, next week at this time, we could be talking about Aleister Black. We could be talking about Rusev. We could be talking about Jeff Cobb. We could be talking about some other people that WWE assigned in terms of bloodline stories. And that is just going to get everybody fired up as well. I saw a comment, I think it was on Twitter. It was interesting. They said, instead of being sort of the end of the storylines or the end of the season, WrestleMania kind of feels like we're kicking off a bunch of stories. And it's the start of a brand new season, and it does feel like that in many ways, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, you don't always have to fall back into what you've done before. But yeah, in terms of a go-home episode of Raw, I think we did a decent job. I think we did a good job. Not necessarily super promo heavy. We had some matches in there too, and yeah, SmackDown will sort of put a bow on it and we can take it from there. But I still feel like I'm excited. Maybe not as excited as we should have been. Maybe it's not as good as the build last year when we did the massive pivot with Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins and The Rock and Roman Reigns. That was super duper good. Although speaking of Roman, he did a really good Rock-esque social media promo that you should look at, which is essentially don't trust anyone. And he did pie face Paul Heyman on the floor here. Let's not forget that, which, I mean, it could be a ruse, it could be a trick. Maybe Paul Heyman doesn't care and he understands that his tribal chief is going through a bad time. But that is big, right? It's the first time we've seen kind of violence between them. And Roman Reigns is still acting like the old Roman Reigns. Like, he hasn't been very nice, hasn't had anything to do with Jey Uso, which seems totally terrible, all things considered, especially because Jimmy Uso almost got killed. And I can't believe that will be ignored forever. So there certainly is an eyebrow-raising intrigue to all of this. But I would love to know what you think, because I know a few people aren't that pumped about WrestleMania, which is totally cool, but I just want to get your takes, so drop me a comment below. Like the video, share the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you want my WrestleMania predictions, they're on the screen right now. Come tell me how wrong I am. Otherwise, the Easter sale is ongoing until tomorrow, April the 16th at GorillaMind.com/Simon. You can get loads of money off, so make sure you go up there, get your pre-workout, best supplements in the game. Simon316 on all social media, Simon Miller on Cameo, personalized videos. I've done loads of WrestleMania videos, which has been fun. Simon J. Miller on TikTok and Pro Wrestling Tees and Big Cartel for merchandise. But otherwise, I will see you throughout the week. I'm flying out to Vegas today. Come on down to the What Culture shows over the weekend, especially after WrestleMania Part 1 and Part 2, where we're doing live shows at the Luxor Hotel. It's first come, first serve, and it's free. And hopefully we'll have some special guests as well. I'll try and get some content up. It will be hotel-related content, but that's okay. Just goes to show that I'm living in the bubble, whatever the flub that means. But I appreciate you all. Have a lovely week. It comes but once a year. This bald a-hole will see you soon.